Well, good evening, and welcome to the Composer Series concert. We do this annually and exchange programs with Stanislaus and other colleges occasionally, but mostly with Stanislaus, CSU Stanislaus. This evening we have three composers, myself, John Hillebrand, and David Dow. And the first piece is rather unique, and I'm going to ask David and John to talk about it because they collaborated on a very unique work. But before I ask them out, I would invite you to turn off your cell phones and other electronic devices, even though what you're going to hear will be rather interesting and electronic. So I would like to have you welcome John Hillebrand, please. And of course, David Dow.
I'm just going to say a few real short sentences about this first piece. It's entitled The Second Coming, and if any of you are familiar with the poem by the same name by William Butler Yeats, I noticed there's an S missing from the program. It's Yeats. This poem, the impetus behind the idea was last spring when I was talking to Max about what we thought was going to be a Halloween concert. So I got in that mode, and that's why I dressed as an eccentric composer. That's my deal. So in case you were wondering, I don't always look like this. So anyway, this poem was written in the early part of the century, about the time of World War I, when there was a lot of chaos and darkness in the world, and so if you're familiar with the poem, you'll know that it's a very famous poem and a very familiar text that sort of invokes a lot of scary imagery and sort of archetypal ideas like the Sphinx and spirals and darkness and monsters. So we put this text together. I talked to my friend David, who teaches at Modesto Junior College, and he's an electronic music specialist, among other things. And so we got together with this text, and the voice that you'll hear on the text is that of Don Bradley, who's right here. I'll let David just say a couple sentences about what we did electronically with the whole idea, and then we'll get on with the program.
Well, Don, you might not recognize your voice in some of the places because we mangled and manipulated it and chopped it up and pitch shifted it and did lots of manipulations with the sound, and you'll be hearing some synthesizer sounds, some that John had created and some that I've created, and so that'll be interspersed with a few sound effects. So we hope you enjoy it. It's called The Second Coming.
Turning and turning, turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falcon. Turning and turning, things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely, some revelation, surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming is at hand. The second. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man. A gaze blank and pitiless as the sun. Is moving with slow thighs. While all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again. But now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed tonight by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast? Sure, some revelation, surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming is at hand. The second. And what rough beast? Its hour come round at last, come round at last. Beast, rough beast. The darkness drops again. The widening gyre, conviction, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born. Slouches toward Bethlehem. Turning and turning, come round at last. Turning and turning, turning and turning. To be born.
The next piece will be quite different from this last work. The last one, very provocative, makes you go into a very different thought. The next one is acoustic, and it'll be for violin and piano. See on the program notes, and I wrote this probably a year and a half ago, or 2 years, I can't remember. And recently I lost some of it and tried to reconstruct it, so we were piecemealing it, and finally got it together again, and so it looks like a pyramid of music up here for the violinist, and the pianist is probably having the same problem. But it'll be interesting to watch just the physical part of this. And I'd like to introduce to you Miriam Cotton-Rack on violin and Matthew Baer playing the piano. Thank you. I'd like to summon John Hillebrand again, and our next composer, well, his next pieces, and I'd like for him to say a few words, please. Thank you.
What this piece is here. Okay. This next set of songs, joined by Don again, who you heard the voice of in the previous piece, in the electronic piece, and Joni Heffley. This is a set of songs based on William Blake's Songs of Innocence and Experience. It's a collection of poetry in two sections. There's the poems of innocence, of which I can't remember if there's a dozen or 15, followed by a set of poems called Songs of Experience. And they cover a whole gamut of the human experience, tending to be somewhat evocative of some of the more difficult human emotions. In the Songs of Innocence, he doesn't tend toward the tragic, however, but in the Songs of Experience, there's a little bit more of a cynical, tragic vein that runs through these poems. A lot of the poems are paired together from a Song of Innocence with a Song of Experience. So in the first two pieces, The Lamb and the Tiger, two very well-known poems, which you may, if you don't even know that you know them, you may have heard them somewhere. Those two are kind of paired together, and in the Tiger, there's a reference back to the poem of The Lamb. So you'll if you're aware of that, you may notice that as the music progresses. The same thing with the two chimney sweepers. There's a chimney sweeper from Songs of Innocence, which in itself is kind of a tragic piece, but there's a little ray of hope in it. The last one, however, the chimney sweeper from Songs of Experience, is really pretty tragic. And once again, we're kind of back in the Halloween vein of things. They're pretty dark. I'll warn you about that up front. So, thank you.
By the stream and When my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me while yet my tongue could scarcely cry. Weep, 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 weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in salt I sleep. There's little Tom Digger who cried when his head, that curled like a lamb's back, was shaved. So I said, hush, Tom, never mind it, for when your head's bare, you know that the salt cannot spoil your white hair. And so he was quiet, and that very night, as Tom was a-sleeping, he had such a sight, that thousands of sweepers, Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack, were all of them locked up in coffins of black. And by came an angel who had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free. Then down a green plain leaping, laughing they run, and wash in the river and shine in the sun. Then naked and white, all their bags left behind, they rise upon clouds and sport in the wind. And the angel told Tom, if he'd be a good boy, he'd have God for his father and never want joy. And so Tom awoke, and we rose in the dark. And got with our bags and our brushes to work. Though the morning was cold, Tom was happy and warm. So if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. A little black thing among the snow, crying weep, weep, in notes of woe. Where are thy father and mother? Say, they are both gone up to the church to pray. Because I was happy upon the heath and smiled among the winter snow. They clothed me in the clothes of death and taught me to sing in notes of woe. And because I am happy and dance and sing, they think they have done me no injury, and are gone to praise God and his priest and king. Who make up a heaven of our misery.
Before we begin our final work of the evening, I should like to thank some people. I always like to thank the people that support me the most, and my wife Sarah does that. And I'd like to thank her as many times as I could, only once tonight, but at home probably more often. Charles Jennings, he's the division chair. I'd like to thank him for helping me to make this happen. Sharon Dagling in the music lab for helping print programs and work on that. And I'd like to thank a living poet, Michael Duffett, who will be reading his poem with this work. And you can find it on the right-hand side of your program. You can follow along. I'd like to also thank Thomas Chen for recording the concert and Jim Vergara for filming it. So many thanks to all of you. Before we begin playing the last piece, I'd like to introduce some of the instruments to you also in the percussion section, because I know that people sometimes don't know what's being played. So we'll do a little bit of that, show and tell. Yes. The vibra slap? This is a vibra slap. Isn't that cool? Thank you. And Brian, the temple blocks, maybe? And the vibraphone? And Mary, the xylophone, please. And perhaps the chimes. Thank you. And these are some of the instruments and others that you will be hearing during the performance. Of course, the string players, I don't think I have to, there they are, violins, viola, a little larger than the violin, and a cello.
Redden. Vegetables explode in beds. Grasses lengthen. And horses, everything is reckoned. Every second. Every penny. No spare pair. The human prize is unrepayable, except by moving on. On to where the sunsets never know, nor dawns adorn necessity. is.